All right, welcome to the first 5 minutes of Freedom on Friday video. This is Chris Sankey. I hope to every Friday do some type of quick 5-minute video on an issue relating to liberty or freedom. The goal and my hope of this is that I'll be able to help you cut through some of the BS that's out there right now from the different media sources, whether you're getting your news from Huffington Post, Fox, MSNBC. There are a bunch of different outlets that are obviously vying for you to think a certain way and believe a certain narrative. And I want to take these 5 minutes every Friday and hopefully take a popular issue that you're probably hearing in the media, that you're hearing people talk about, that you're seeing in headlines, dissect it quickly for you, give you my take on it, and hopefully go from there. So obviously, a lot in these videos are going to be some of my opinions, my personal opinions. You're obviously free to take or leave those if you like, and then we're going to use a lot of different facts and evidence with some of these. So what I want to talk about today is ISIS. 2 years ago or a year ago, even if you said ISIS, nobody would really know what that means, and now it's a household name all throughout America. And yesterday I saw a poll, Quinnipiac poll, that polled 1,200 Americans, and in that poll they found that 2/3 of Americans, well, 2/3 of the people on the poll, support us putting ground troops back in Iraq to fight ISIS. And that really blew me away, because for the last 10, 12, 13 years, we were involved in Afghanistan, we were involved in Iraq. Over 7,000 U.S. Men and women died, in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think the number is something like over 40,000 wounded veterans. There have been thousands of civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan who are nonviolent people who died in these conflicts. And so that number really amazed me, that 66% or more support some type of invasion of ground troops and putting our men and women back there to fight this group. And so I wanted to take a quick couple minutes and talk about ISIS. Now, when you're seeing videos on the internet, from CNN and Fox and MSNBC of ISIS burns person at the stake, ISIS beheads 20 people and posts it online. You're seeing all this, truly terrible news. It's nothing short of tragic and just these gruesome murders. And there's no doubt that ISIS is a bad group. I'm not arguing that at all. These people have no place in any peaceful society, and it's truly a sad thing that there are people that are being affected by this group. But before we let these videos get us emotional and get us hyped and get us very impulsive, I think is kind of how a lot of Americans are when it comes to this, we really should look at, where did ISIS come from? How many people in the media are talking about, well, wait a minute, where has this group even come from? Where I didn't know about them 5 years ago. I didn't know about them 2 years ago. You might have just been hearing ISIS for the first time in the last 3 months. And now we want to send our troops over there to fight. And it's important to look back and figure out what happened, why it happened, how it happened, so we don't make the same mistake again. It's the old, if you don't study history, you're bound to repeat the mistakes of it. And so let's talk about where ISIS has actually come from. ISIS is a terrorist group, a radical Islamic, fundamentalist, extremist terrorist group that was created because of the lack of leadership in Iraq. Now, where did the lack of leadership come from? This is one of the main reasons a lot of libertarians, non-interventionists, believe that we shouldn't go over and have gotten involved in Iraq in the first place. Now, it's easy to say hindsight's 2020. I absolutely agree with that. At the time, a lot of the support was that we should go to war, and I remember being in high school in my senior year thinking, we should go to war because of the evidence that was supplied to the United Nations on Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. We obviously know that turned out to be incorrect and false evidence that was given to the United Nations, and Colin Powell ended up resigning over it. But long story short, we went into Iraq, we overthrew Saddam Hussein, and we create really this opportunity for a terrorist group to breed and to train and to recruit and to go in and use the natural resources of Iraq and use that to generate revenue and to pay for weapons and to amass different things that are going to enable to carry out their mission. And so that's really where ISIS came from, was because the United States went into Iraq, we overthrew the government, and we destabilized that entire region. And when you do that, you give way and you lay way for another even worse than the previous dictatorship under Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was a terribly bad person, terribly bad guy. He attacked some of his own citizens. But for the most part, you didn't have terrorist organizations running around in Iraq stealing, opium and oil and recruiting people and going on these extravagant crusades trying to take over the entire world, beheading people their way to fame, right? And that's what we have right now, is we have a group that's parading around a country that the United States destabilized based on some faulty evidence about weapons of mass destruction. And now here we are back at square one saying, well, there are these terrible people running around in the Middle East, we have to go kill them. So my question is, when do we learn that going back into the Middle East and causing more disruption and more destabilization, what would that lead to? So let's say we wiped ISIS off the face of the planet, but in the process of doing that, we killed some other people and we pissed some other people off. Who's to say that OSIS isn't going to come around? The next bad group, and ISIS and Al Qaeda and Taliban. So it's never going to end with that. You're not going to just be able to go in and continuously parade around and kill all the bad guys and then not expect any other bad guys to come about. So, my point is we should be very cautious about sending our troops, over there to fight and risk their lives for something that may not truly protect our freedom and our national interests in the long run. There's plenty of literature out there that talks about the creation of ISIS. You can do some reading up on that. I would highly suggest you look for credible news sources and not just something from MSNBC or Fox or some of your traditional things that you get. So, I personally think that the airstrikes that we're doing are okay. I think that ISIS is, obviously a bad group that has to be dealt with. But at the same time, it needs to be the other countries in the Middle East, peaceful countries in the Middle East. You saw what happened when Jordan's pilot was burned. The response that they had, when the government of Jordan saw that, they vowed to take out ISIS and wipe them out themselves. It needs to be countries like the UAE and in Jordan, and even the government of Iran, the Kurds, Iraq itself, taking out ISIS, and not us sending American troops over there, putting them in harm's way. So that's all I've got for now. Would love your comments, would love your feedback. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. I love that. If you've ever been on my Facebook, you know that. So appreciate it. If you found the video useful and you want to share it, that'd be cool too. I'm completely new at this, so bear with me. I'm literally filming this from my apartment here in Ybor City in Tampa. So thanks, and see you next Friday.